Greetings humans, Spinning Mantis here with a special episode of our Overwatch series. These are going to be 20 tips to improve your game in Overwatch, as well as being a new player guide. So in general, if you are new to the game, this is going to help a whole lot. Maybe if you've been playing a while and you've been trying to play competitive and you are not really getting anywhere, you think you're ranked lower than you should be, maybe check out this list and it might help. Number one thing on the list is going to be use your mic. Now, in quick play, doesn't matter as much. Still, what's it going to hurt? If you're using your mic, you're basically controlling the game. You're calling shots. You're able to give your input. If other people aren't using their mic, they're not. And you know what? A lot of the time, people will listen to what you're saying. And a lot of the time, 2 or 3 other people will jump on the mic, and you'll wind up schooling the other team and having a really good time and maybe adding someone to your friends list that you play with in the future. So tip number 1 to improve your game is use your mic. Of course, in the game situationally, it's really good. You're able to call out enemies. You're able to call out focus fire targets, etc. It is good all around. So for part 2, go to your options, go to your controls, and go to your heroes up here, and go to the heroes that you play and actually set the settings how you want them. Say, okay, I want less tune on my aiming with Bastion. So you go and you set your sensitivity down further. Now, if you're going to play someone like Reinhardt, you can go in here and you can turn on and off whether your shield stays up or whether you have to hold it down. Toggle barrier on. So if you turn that off, you have to hold it down. So go ahead and go to the characters that you like to play and tune your settings for the characters that you like to play. Whatever will make your aim feel the best, and go ahead and try it out. Third tip on how you can improve is anytime you're entering a match, this is especially true in competitive, but if you want to win in quick play, if you're actually interested in winning, always have a backup pick. Don't just say, oh, I'm a Genji main, that's all I play in every situation. That's not good, especially in competitive. Even though you may feel like you're doing good, even though you may get a gold in something, if the game does not call for a Genji and your team winds up losing, that's not good. So you need to have a backup pick. If you are playing Hanzo as a main, go ahead and learn another character. And then tip number 4 relates to that. It's going to be learn 2 roles. If you only play DPS and you only ever play DPS and a whole bunch of people lock in DPS and your team refuses to move off that, your team is probably going to lose. So I say learn 2 roles. So say you are that soldier main and maybe the game doesn't call for it, you've got a whole bunch of other DPS. Why don't you go and learn Zarya so you can play a damage dealing tank? Or say you are a Reinhardt main and someone goes ahead and locks Reinhardt in as a tank. Why don't you learn Mei as a defensive character? Who, in a way is kind of similar. She's almost like a melee character. She's got a big wall that she can put up. She can block a lot of ults. So go ahead and do yourself a favor and learn 2 roles, because tip number 5 is when you're picking your team, especially in competitive, pick for a good team composition. If someone goes in and they lock in a Reinhardt, and someone goes in and locks in a Reaper, don't go ahead and lock in a McCree and wind up with a McCree, a Reaper, a Tracer, a Widowmaker, and a Hanzo or something. Pick for a good team composition. So if there's too many quote-unquote DPS, your team's probably going to get shredded. They're going to be very easy to counter. So if everyone's locked in multiple DPS so far, you know what? Go ahead and play that Zarya, or play Diva, play a backup tank. A good team composition is the most likely indicator of success. Picking off-the-wall people, picking 3 or 4 of a pointless of a role that isn't super needed, like picking Hanzo, Widowmaker, and Ana all together, or picking Symmetra, Lucio, Mercy, and Zenyatta all on the same team. You're probably not going to win. In quick play, do what you want. Definitely try not to do that in competitive. Alright, next is when you're in a match. You've probably heard this before, and you should really do it. It is group up, don't trickle in. At the most, there should be like one player on your team who isn't with the group. Certain situations call for a flanker. So, a Tracer, a McCree, a Reaper, those guys occasionally, a Genji, shouldn't be with the team. They're doing their sort of own thing. They're trying to flank. That is fine. But everybody else should be together. Now, it's more important after people start dying. You don't want to trickle in. If 3 people from the team die, and there's 2 people left alive, and the other team has 5 people left alive, those 2 people should try to get out or move to a more defensive position and just sort of hold and wait for the other people to come back. Don't trickle in. If everybody doesn't die at the same time, don't go one at a time onto the point. It's worth it to wait 3 seconds outside the spawn for the next 2 people to come out with you. Going in as 3 to back up 2 others is better than going in as 1, and then 1, and then 1. So group up. Don't trickle in. Next is know your role. If you like to play Lucio, know your role. Your role is to provide speed boosts, to get people back from the spawn room as quickly as possible, to get the whole team onto the point as quickly as possible, to help people retreat fast, and then just to be filling everyone in with health in between. Your role as Lucio is movement and healing. So don't try to be a sniper. Don't try to be the guy who gets all the kills. If you're ignoring your healing just to knock people off the map, then you're not knowing your role. Your role needs to be buffing the team. So, know your role. If your role is Hanzo, your role isn't charging the point. Your role is to hang back a little bit and snipe people around corners. If your role is Reinhardt, you know what? Your role is not to melee all the time. Your role is not to do your charge every time it comes up. Your role is to tank. Your role is to protect everyone else on the team. So know your role and don't stray from it too far for too long. Tip number 8 is going to be focus fire. Even if you don't have a Zenyatta on the team, it's even better if you do have a Zenyatta on the team. Look for the purple orb over there. Zenyatta, if you play Zenyatta, you should always be on voice, and you should be saying, Zarya discorded, Tracer discorded, Soldier discorded. Calling out in voice chat who you have discorded. Everyone looks to it. Everyone gets easy kills by hitting the discorded person. Why not? Focus firing is another huge key to having a successful team. So if you don't have a Zenyatta, and if nobody's talking, you really just need to be smart and know to take out the healers first, the squishy DPS second, and the tanks last. Everyone needs to focus the right targets. So focus fire makes a huge difference. Just in general, your priority targets is always number 1 is Mercy. If there's a Mercy, number 1 priority target. Number 2 priority target, Zenyatta. He's the one calling the shots for the other team. Get him, number 2. Number 3 is Zarya. Don't charge up her shield. Do not charge up her shield. Do not charge up the shield she puts on other people. Don't shoot them. But watch for her shield to go up. Wait. As soon as it goes down, focus fire and nuke Zarya. Zarya puts out a ton of damage. Being smart about dealing with Zarya quickly is very important, especially in competitive. Number 9 is use cover. A lot of the maps have boxes and stuff. Shoot from behind the boxes. I mean, it gives you a real low profile. Don't stand in the middle of an area where you're unprotected. Look for areas where you've got something to hide behind. Duck behind a wall. Pop out, shoot. Duck, shoot. Duck, shoot. A great one for that is the payload. I have spent so much time on payloads in my day where the people didn't even see I was there. I'm getting healed by the payload, and I'm ducking behind it. I've lasted for like 2 whole minutes without dying as a diva hanging behind the payload. Defense matrix on the left, hide behind the payload. Defense matrix on the right, hide behind the payload. And the stupid other team didn't do anything about it. So use cover. Payload, obviously a good one. Second one is tanks. If you are a DPS character, if you are a squishy, if you are a healer, don't expose yourself visually to the other team. Hide behind the tanks. Put the tanks between you and the bad guys. Number 10 is hold the high ground. Your team's going to have more success if at least some of your teammates are on the high ground. All of the maps in the game have multiple levels. Just for example, in Hollywood, through the western section of the town, you can be on the top of those roofs of those houses. You can be on the little verandas and overhangs. There's tons of places you can be. There's walkways up there. The team that has people shooting down from on top is probably the team that is going to have the advantage in a lot of fights. So go explore the upper ground, and obviously, not if you're the tank, not if you're the healer, but if you're DPS character, certainly. Number 11 is watch your 6. Don't just have tunnel vision up front. You gotta look to your side and look behind you. If you start taking damage, be on your mic, call it out. Reaper behind. Tracer on the right. A game could be going really good until you get flanked. Someone sneaks in behind you and kills 3 people on your team before you know it, and then it's over. Your team gets wiped. So always watch your 6 and call things out when you're getting attacked from behind. Number 12 is announce your ults. If you're on voice, this is super easy to do. Say, hey, I'm Lucio, I got my ult up. Or if you're playing Mercy, got my res up. Definitely if you're playing Zarya and Mei, be like, okay, I'm Mei, 95%, Zarya 95%. You can trigger it in the in-game voice chat or do it over the mic. And then you're going to have some synergy. When you've got two ults up and you can combo a Zarya and a D.Va ult, you can combo a Mei and a Soldier ult. It's amazing. You're going to wipe the other team. So announce your ults and combo ults. Number 13 is similar to that, anticipate enemy ults. If you're playing D.Va and you're at 95%, tell your team, hey, watch out, the other D.Va is probably going to have her ult ready. Or say Reaper has been schooling you all game. You're Soldier, and Reaper's been getting you good, and you're at 75 with Soldier. Be like, Reaper is probably about ready to have his ult because you're at 75. Reaper's been doing better than you. He might be at 95. So let your team know Reaper might have his ult up. So anticipate those enemy ults and call them out. Next is identify counters. If there's something out there, if there's someone on the other team who is dominating your team, he is probably countering several of your people. So, and maybe they don't realize it. Talk on chat and be like, hey, they've got a Genji. The Bastion isn't working. Or, hey, they've got a Genji. He's tearing up our squishies in the back. What can we do? You've got to identify counters when they present themselves and learn how to counter them. Say they've got a lot of squishies and a lot of healers. Okay, someone should be playing a Winston. So you're getting slaughtered over and over again as McCree. There's nothing you can do. They've got a Winston. You know what? Put your big human pants on and play Mei and counter the Genji. Identify those counters and be willing to switch when it's needed. If someone is shutting you down as one class, you're not going to do good that game. Switch it up and counter them. Counter someone else on the team who is doing really good. Number 15 is know the health pack locations. Just play the game in quick play the game in a custom match. Learn where those health packs are. Take advantage of them. When you start taking damage and there's no healer around or something like that, put up defensive fire and know how to head backwards or sideways towards the health. Number 16. This is an important one. Don't feed. You may have heard this in other games before, but this is very important. When you die, when you give up hits to the enemy, when you're getting killed over and over again, you're charging their ults. The other team will snowball. It's called snowballing. You die easily to a Reaper 3 times. He gets his ult really quick. He ults 4 out of the 6 people on your team. That charges his ult again, and he just goes and he dominates your team the entire match. He carries against you because you were feeding. If you choose a class at the beginning of the game, and you're just getting killed over and over again, you're hurting the team. Consider switching to something else. Unless it is like the main healer, then just get on the mic and convince someone else who obviously is not doing good to please change. Don't be abusive, don't be a jerk. But if someone is insisting on playing Widowmaker and something else could be more useful, and they're feeding, they're getting wrecked over and over again. Say, hey, can you maybe play Ana instead? That would help the team a little bit more than Widowmaker, because right now all you're doing is dying. You're not getting any kills. They've got a counter to you. At least with Ana, you'll be able to put them to sleep. And be constructive. Finally, we're going to talk about some match-specific type of things. Number 17 is on the escort payload maps. Heal on the payload. Like, so many people, I guess, don't even understand this. I don't know. It is real frustrating when you're playing payload and you're the only person on the payload. Everyone's running down the sides and winds up getting killed, and they don't know why they're dying. They're doing it over and over again. Cluster up on the payload. Hang sort of near the payload. Fight near the payload, maybe 100 feet away from the payload. And as you're taking damage, head back to the payload. It helps you. It heals you. And you're moving the payload along. That's the thing. You want at least 3 people on that payload at all times. That's the next point. You want at least 3 people on the payload at all times. 2 is okay also. But there is no need to have people all off the point. In most game modes, you shouldn't really have more than 2 flanking type characters on a team, You should have several tanks, several healers, some DPS. You do not need multiple flankers. So, especially in payload, you should not really have people out wandering about. They're going to get picked, and then you're going to be facing a 6v5. So, use the payload, move it along, get its heals. And then lastly, points 19 and 20 on defend maps. Something you may not realize. Say you're in Hanamura on point B. You're facing wave after wave of attacks. You're down low and your healer has died. You know what? Run back into the spawn. You're only like 10 feet away from the spawn there. Run back into the spawn. It'll heal you up to full immediately. Pop right back out. Use that trick. The other team will get real frustrated. They won't know why. Every time, they come back, everyone's at full health. Or if there's a couple stragglers around, they'll be like, so like, don't feed. Don't stay out there longer than you have to. On some of those defense points, on defense point B, you are right outside the defense point. Eigenwald, stuff like that. If you take some damage, retreat back into the spawn, pop right back out, fresh and new. And finally, number 20, wait off the objective in defense mode. So, a lot of the maps on the point B, there are great high ground places to hold. In Volskaya, point B, there's all that upstairs. Let the other team kind of push in. You're going to have the upper ground on them. Let them push in on the ground. You should be able to wreck them. And then if they do make it to the point, then jump on the point. You don't always have to physically be on the point once you're controlling it. Usually 3 on and 3 off is good. Don't be out roaming. You can have maybe one flanker, someone out trying to make picks or something like that. But definitely have people off the point, but near it. Off the point, but able to jump on it immediately. Off the point, but able to put real good fire on anyone coming from any direction onto the point. So those are my 20 tips to improve at Overwatch. Also, a guide for new players, perhaps a guide for people looking to get into competitive for the first time. Also, perhaps for people who've been playing Overwatch for a while, but are getting frustrated because they don't feel like they're advancing in the competitive ranks. Just take a look at those ideas. Maybe there's something in there that you can incorporate into your game that will make the difference. And increase your win rate, as well as increase your enjoyment and decrease your frustration with Overwatch. If you enjoy these videos, it makes me super happy when you like and subscribe, and I hope that you join me next time. That is going to be all for now. Spinning Mantis out. Namaste.